Good morning, New Life. My name is Joshua Yu, a current junior at Rice University, and I'll be stepping up as shepherd of Thailand House Church alongside Olivia Chang, previously shepherded by Christine Yuan and Josh Ni. So some background, I grew up in the church and am eternally grateful for my previous church where my faith was really cultivated every Sunday and Friday. But even more so, I'm grateful for my parents who are here today. 谢谢爸爸妈妈，你们在我生命中最切实的地向我展现了上帝的爱。感谢你带领我认识我的上帝、我的主和我最心事的朋友耶稣基督。Translation, thank you, Mommy and Daddy, for being the most tangible form of God's love in my life. Thank you for leading me to know my God, my King, and my most faithful friend in Jesus. So coming to college, I really wanted to find a ministry. I knew Christine, my previous shepherd, before college, so I visited her house church, then known as CM Reap. Over time, our house church grew really big, and we multiplied the second semester of my freshman year, where I had the privilege of going with Josh Ni. I think a lot of people talk about not comparing your house church with other ones and how each house church has different seasons. I can say confidently that this comparison game is much easier to play in the college ministry because we go to school together every day, and because of this, I can't say my time in house church has always been a pretty or smooth one. I remember very distinctly my struggles with my house church. I could feel that we weren't super tight-knit and close, as sometimes sharing was shallow and people weren't always consistent, at times for very legitimate reasons. But the season of our house church occurred in definitely one of the harder moments of my life. And as someone who really values deep and meaningful relationships, it was pretty hard, especially at the beginning. And I remember deeply envying the house churches who seemed to spend every waking moment together, where it seemed they were so tight-knit and like a family. This isn't to say that God wasn't moving during these times. Slowly things started to change. Sometimes in life, it seems that Satan drops a bomb on your life, and in the midst of the rubble and destruction, you don't really know how to make sense of it all. I remember one house church, it was just the four of us, and I was grateful for our small number that day because during my sharing, I started crying and shouting about my grief and struggle. Literally shouting, and all the while my house church members were just quietly listening to me. And I think this is the beauty of a house church. Where else would a group of people willingly listen to someone about their despair, especially on a Friday night of all nights? So I want to say to all the house churches who are struggling, especially the college ones, please stick around. Be the core member your shepherds can lean on, even when the going gets tough and your house church enters a dry season, perhaps even for years. Know that your house church's dry season may happen to coincide with another house church's rainy season, so don't compare and know that things will change. I hope that members would join their shepherds in praying for their house churches, especially in these harder times. Keep praying for rain to come, because it will, and be like Elijah, who prayed 7 times before finally the cloud rose up and rain came. I think love is very important to me. Love is sacrifice. It isn't a feeling, but a verb. It is action. And I felt that with my shepherds. I remember very clearly one time I was leading praise during a joint house church, and when I was singing, I started sweating a lot because I was really nervous with all the new people, and the sweat wasn't like a little roll down the cheek. It was like it was raining. And I was like, man, these people are going to think I'm weird because it looks like I just got out of the shower, and that stress just makes you sweat even more. So as I was singing, my shepherd, Josh Ni, was sitting next to me, and like mid-sing, I was like, I looked at him, I was like, bro, can you wipe my sweat? And he looked at me, and he was like, oh shoot, and he took the back of his like plain raw hand, like his raw hand, and like wiped the sweat off my face. So yeah, if that isn't love, I don't know what is. And from Christine, I began to learn the very important discipline and habit of sitting in the ocean of God's love and letting the waves of his love and mercy hit you one by one until you are filled. When I was sick, she made tomato and egg soup noodles and brought it to my dorm, and it was evident that she always thought about her members and made sure her sheep were cared for in almost a motherly way. So I'm very thankful for shepherds who embodied God's love through action, and I can only hope to emulate even a bit of the love they have graciously shown us. And so to my house church members, thank you for being the hands and feet of Jesus in my time at Rice. To Aaron, thank you for your genuineness and being my big brother at Rice. To Jason, thank you for your perky and passionate nature. It's always great hearing you rave about the Mavs. To Christina, thank you for being one of the funniest people I've ever met and a true light in our house church. To Anna, thank you for your sweet disposition and constant faithfulness. To Mickey, for your vulnerability and perseverance in difficult times. To Sehyun, for your steadfastness and loyalty. And to Olivia, my friend, co-shep, Thank you. You are one of the most patient, kind, and faithful people I know, and it is truly a privilege to partner with you in leading our house church. So to Thailand House Church 2.0, I commit to overseeing your spiritual growth, calling out each of your names in prayer 4 times a week. It is my prayer that together as a house church, we would charge the gates of hell at Rice, helping to lead as many people to Jesus as we can. Our time in college is short, but the harvest is truly plentiful on our college campuses. May we be the reapers who harvest much in the time given to us. Thank you.
Good morning, New Life. My name is Olivia Chang, a junior at Rice University, and I'm the rising deputy shepherd of Thailand House Church, previously shepherded by Josh Nee. I grew up in a family that self-identified as Catholic but did not practice religion. The only exposure to Christianity that I had was through following my aunt and uncle to church when I was young, but all the stories I heard about God largely registered as head knowledge. Never having personally encountered or experienced God, I wondered why people would devote their precious time going to church when they could be doing something else that would result in measurable success, like studying. At the start of middle school, I was fortunate to have been invited to church by a Korean lady who worked at a dry cleaner down the block. Having moved to a new state and not knowing many people, I decided to give it a try. After a year of attending, I followed my church to their winter retreat, where I was first introduced to the gospel. It was weird. For the first time, I felt something when hearing about God, a wave of comforting presence of some sort, and I opened the door of my heart to the knocking of Jesus Christ. The good thing about not being raised in a Christian household was that when I decided to pursue a relationship with God, I knew it was of my own will rather than under the influence of my parents. The bad thing was that outside of church, I did not have people to keep me grounded in Christ, to keep me accountable in my faith. Come my senior year of high school, I grew busier with schoolwork and college applications, and church regretfully became less of a priority. I consciously knew what was happening, and whenever church members would reach out to me, I felt guilty and ashamed. So I ran the opposite way, ultimately distancing myself from the church. Entering college, joining a religious ministry was not one of the items on the top of my list. However, despite my pushing of God away, God did not give up on me. Miraculously, during my freshman year, I was placed in a suite where all my roommates were Christian. We set up weekly Bible studies and prayed together for the upcoming semesters. Also coincidentally, I sat next to a guy named Joshua Yu in general chemistry lab who would later invite me to CM Reap House Church. As I felt God's persistent calling for me to return, I decided to try again. I will confess, though, that the journey was not instantly the flower path that I imagined it to be. On top of getting adjusted to a new environment called college, my family moved twice in the past 2 years, and I experienced financial aid issues that led me to wonder if I could even continue attending Rice, much less medical school. There was a lot of tension, and situations were constantly changing back home. I felt alone, overwhelmed, and suffocated by reality. I didn't know what to do. So I did the only reasonable thing I could do. I kept myself busy. I overcommitted to classes and extracurriculars, pushed myself more and more, and desperately clung to normality because I knew that if I took a moment to rest and think, I would crumble. At that point, I was sleeping 1 to 2 hours regularly, which ultimately took a toll on my physical and mental health. Growing up as the eldest daughter, I always felt the responsibility to know what I was doing, to figure things out on my own, and not ask for help even when I needed it. I created an image for myself to uphold. Therefore, the concept of sharing vulnerably about myself, my life, my thoughts, and my struggles was something that I was uncomfortable with, something that was distinctly foreign. Unconsciously, I created a barrier between myself and my house church. I was afraid. If people figured out that I was not the seemingly held together, delightful person that I made myself out to be, would that change the way they viewed me and treated me? Even worse, would they leave me? One thing I appreciated about my house church was that they were extremely vulnerable with one another. The honest words, feelings, tears, and experiences that circulated the room every Friday. It was in those moments when I would listen and feel renewed by the amount of trust and care that they could feel for one another, as if they were family. I saw time and time again heartfelt advice, encouragement, and earnest prayers being answered. Maybe it was then that I knew I wanted to become a part of that. So I took a leap of faith. To my surprise, my house church members listened and they understood. They told me, all those parts of you that don't seem perfect make us love you even more. It will never change the way that we treat you or view you. And lastly, thank you for trusting us. They followed up with me and showed me that they actually cared. This was what it meant to do life together. I take with me a verse that my previous shepherd, Josh Nee, gifted me. It comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 through 10. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I'm strong." Thank you, Josh, for teaching me that as I let God into my life, He will use every part of me, transforming my weaknesses into a testimony of His work. Thank you for showing by example what it means to serve selflessly, for sacrificing so much time and effort if it means reconciling one more lost child to God. Thailand House Church, thank you for giving me a reason to trust and for constantly reminding me of what it means to keep loving. As your shepherd, I commit to the following: to continually seek out God as a source of love for the house church, to pray for each one of you by name 4 times a week, to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for VIPs, and to serve sacrificially to walk alongside you all in your growth with God. Thank you, New Life, for listening to my story.